welcome in. It is a Feedback Friday. Jack Mitchell has his water.
Yeah, water.
Ready. He is ready to provide feedback to me, feedback to you, feedback to anyone that happens to pay attention here on Unemployed with Mike Schaefer. Jack, it is a Friday before the Super Bowl. I had this conversation with somebody here this morning, and I've been thinking about it since. Normally I'm probably a little bit more fired up for the Super Bowl. I don't know that there's a reason that I'm not as excited. I do wonder, could it be that Nebraska basketball is so good that
we don't need it?
Well, part of it is like, okay, cool, it's a sport going on, but the only thing that really matters to me are the days of the week in which Nebraska basketball is playing, followed by the days of the week in which someone else is playing that I need to see lose. Followed by days of the week where I'm just curious how other college basketball teams look. And then the NFL has been supplanted by Nebraska basketball.
I could not have said it. I could not have said it better. And I think I've got an additional one just because life circumstances made me unable to watch a whole bunch of the playoffs. It's the least amount of playoff football that I love the play. The Super Bowl, I think, is always generally, for me, a big step down in excitement from the previous two weekends.
Sure.
I think those are the best.
The divisional round is my favorite NFL weekend of the year.
Yes.
Those 4 games. And then after that, the conference championship, okay, great. It just, there's a sadness of you're getting less football.
Yes. Yes. Which brings up a larger conversation that I'd like to have. But I just missed out on most of that this year. I'll be back next year. So the Super Bowl has always been a step down from that, but then I don't even I've been in a spot this year because of that, and then just because kind of what you talked about. There have been 3 times this week I had to sit and take 2 seconds to remember who's in the Super Bowl, which is just wild. Which is wild, but I think you make a really good point. I think this might be what drug addiction is somewhat like, right? You move up the chain to the gateway drug,
okay,
right? And something that packs a little bit more punch, and then you're always like, well, we go back to the other one if we need that hit, but it just doesn't work, right? There's only one thing that does the trick for us anymore, and the best alternate. Okay, here's a crazy thing. I think I know how you would answer, although you implied you might not. Let's say on Sunday night during the Super Bowl, this would actually be difficult for me. If Sunday night, Michigan played at Purdue in men's basketball at the same time as the Super Bowl, or pick the most impactful non-Nebraska basketball matchup. Okay. And I know this is going to make people furious, by the way. I mean, luckily, we have the benefit of 2 screens now, but my attention's probably primarily on the basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Super Bowl still probably wins out if Nebraska's not playing, but there's no way I don't have another screen on that game. There's no way that game is happening where I'm not paying attention. Here's the level of depravity I find myself in, Jack. Like you now, I'm a morning radio show person.
Oh, yeah.
Like you now, I have to deal with the fact that when things start in the evening, they may not end at the optimum time for me to get sleep.
Sucks.
On Wednesday night, knowing full well that I'd be getting up at 4:59 in the morning the next day, started and watched almost to completion Iowa-Washington for the entirety of...
That was last night?
No, that was Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. Was there a late one last night?
No, last night. So what I've figured out, because I haven't really paid attention to this. This is actually probably part of a larger conversation too, of just what Nebraska basketball having this much success has done. But I noticed okay, Wednesday night's a big night for Big Ten basketball. Wednesday night hoops is the BTN thing. And because of these West Coast teams, they have games at 10 o'clock now. And it's kind of Washington, who I've sort of noticed since Nebraska played them, is much I was lumping them in a group of teams that they are better than. They are much.
You were lumping them with Oregon because they.
Yeah, I was lumping them with Oregon and with Northwestern and with some of these teams. And the reality is, that's a pretty good basketball team in terms of like talent. They do dumb things that cause them to not win basketball games, and they've been dealing with an injury that sort of minimizes how good they are. The rotation isn't that deep. But watching that game against Iowa, I just kept thinking to myself, man, I'm really glad Nebraska isn't going back out to Washington for the second half of a play at home, play out there, because that team, they're big. The guy who's going to go in the first 5 picks in the NBA draft next year, or this
is that Diallo? Is that
no? That's Zoom Diallo's their wing.
Yeah,
it's like Steinbach or whatever.
You see how well I've learned the league based on paying attention.
I don't even know their names. I just know him as a big white center, and he's really athletic. And I just think like Nebraska handled them in such a ho-hum fashion where the entirety of the storyline was, oh my God, Frager, that you don't even, this is a team that's like legitimately, they're going to play all the bad teams now in the Big Ten, and they're going to be something like 15-11. And then they've got, UCLA, they've got some tough games in there too. Like they could sort of be the fringy, like 10th best team in the conference and vying for a spot in Dayton.
This could be go on a surprise run in Chicago team like we always like to pretend.
They're a team that I don't want to see Nebraska play in the Big Ten tournament. Meanwhile,
this has turned into a Washington is underrated podcast. 7 minutes into Unemployed. I love it.
Meanwhile, the team that they played beat them by 10, and Nebraska plays them twice. And I'm watching this, and I'm like,
damn, they lost this game. Yes.
Yeah. The stat popped. Well, it helped that Washington shot nearly 80% from the field in the first half, which is unfathomable to me. When the following graphic would come up later in the game, Iowa is one of 2 teams in the country that has held every other team they played under their scoring average for the season.
Wow.
Say that sentence
what
again.
A change.
Iowa.
I cannot believe.
Yeah. The team last year where defense was optional, that somehow Nebraska couldn't figure out how to beat in 2 matchups.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. If we put that in football terms, the shift in Iowa would be huge.
It's just wild. And then I think about it like Nebraska being good at basketball and this good at basketball to where it's not like, okay, they got to win this. They got to hold serve at home. They got to do that. And maybe they'll get to be an 11 seed in the NCAA tournament. No, instead it's like, oh, well, they're clearly in the top 4 teams in the conference and they need to stay there to get that double bye. And like they're legitimately a real threat to play deep into the NCAA tournament. And so now it's looking at it and it's like, man, this conference is really deep. This conference is pretty good. Nebraska beat Wisconsin by 30. Like just random thoughts like that.
Yeah.
All the time now. And I feel way more compelled to watch Big Ten basketball. Previously, it would be like, okay, I watch Nebraska when Nebraska plays. And maybe if I have nothing else going on, there's a game going on in the background and I sort of pay attention to Ohio State playing Illinois, but I'm not like locked in on it. I didn't really care. I followed basketball in the way that some people follow the NFL or Major League Baseball, where they only watch their team and the rest of the league happens and they have no idea what's happening with the rest of the league, but they don't care. They only care about their team. But now that Nebraska is this level of good, I feel like I care about everything that's happening in the Big Ten. Not to the point that I want a T-shirt where we're donning the 3-peat national champion.
Oh, God.
That would never be a thing that I would ever do. But I'm legitimately interested in conference basketball in a way that I didn't think was fathomable.
I've talked about this experience before through the lens of baseball, because I think for me, the way I watch the sport of baseball is very similar to the way that I watch the sport of college basketball, which I think you were referring to. I'm locked, not so much in baseball, there's a million games, but I'm locked in on my favorite team's games. I might be somewhat interested in my division or conference games because there's usually some kind of a rooting interest in that. And beyond that, I'm probably not sitting down more than a few minutes ever, especially in baseball and watching a game. But when the Royals, for me, my favorite team, got good for the first time in years in 2014, and all of a sudden it gets to be August and September, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to actually use this free MLB TV thing that I got from buying a Wendy's Frosty that year. That was an actual thing, by the way. I think that was a year. And now I get from T-Mobile and like, oh my gosh, I'm going to quad screen this thing. I care. Wow. The Marlins are playing the Twins. I'm interested in this game in September. Holy cow. And that doesn't happen. And I think that's like what you're talking about. When you have a good team, it becomes a multiplier for how much you like the sport in general. And so baseball and college basketball have been there. Football has been different for me completely because I will watch almost any college football game with no bearing on my favorite team and still enjoy it. I don't even have an NFL favorite team. And yes, while I said what I did about the Super Bowl, there's some that's a little bit of a different deal here, but like a regular NFL regular season, a regular Monday night football game, Sunday night football game, I'm in no matter what. It's not reliant on anything else. So those are those two tiers of it. That's how baseball and basketball are different than football. And then NBA, NHL, I haven't watched a full game in years. I was trying to think of the last full NBA game I sat down and watched from the beginning to end. And I realized if you take out COVID, because in COVID, I loved the NBA because it was the only sport. If you take out that, I think the last full game I watched was when the Lakers beat the Celtics, when it was Kobe against Garnett, Paul Pierce. No, I bet it was later than that. No. It was LeBron. It was LeBron with the Cavs beating the Warriors. Game 7. That's the last full NBA basketball game that I've watched in my life. Yeah. And I watched the entire playoffs when I was a kid.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
I can believe that. It's just wild. And I wonder if some of it is just almost defense mechanism when you watch a team that's not particularly good. You're not really interested in watching the sport at large because it just reminds you that your team isn't that
also
good.
That.
100%. So I wonder how much of it has been that. And now it's like, my team is good, and I want to watch everybody else to point out that you're not as good as the team that I root for.
It's a different way of enjoying sports that we've not been exposed to in certain sports.
So I wanted to start with football, but naturally I failed to do that because we ended up with basketball. We'll get to football here in a second, but I do have some other things that let's just finish off the basketball kind of discussion here first. Nebraska, Rutgers this weekend. I've kind of said this really since, even last week when you kind of looked at the scheduling, like, okay, this is sort of the break week for Nebraska. And then they get this game against Rutgers. Jack, in a weird way, I think it's really valuable that Nebraska is playing a team like Rutgers where you have to bring your own juice at 11 a.m. in New Jersey against a team that's just going to muck it up and maybe is indifferent about being there, but maybe also is going to give you a big swing because you're a target and you could be the sort of team that, like, they're not going to have a good year no matter what happens in this game, but they could also knock off somebody and you don't want it to be you. I think it's weirdly valuable that Nebraska is playing in this game, their first game after losing these last two to Illinois and Michigan, and with this break. Like, I think there's real value, and they're going to have to kind of find their way through it in an environment where it's going to be apathetic versus if they're at Pinnacle Bank Arena playing this game, there'd be a lot of enthusiasm here locally because they're that good.
You mean if they had like that Northwestern or Penn State game in Lincoln coming up after this? Yeah. Although, have you heard about
Price story?
The Pokemon cards or whatever they're giving out? Or I don't know.
I have. Kevin Kugler talked about it on
and Kugler. Oh yeah, that's how I first learned about it. And then Caleb did the quick.
Yeah, Caleb's been all over this thing.
Yeah, he's one of the top reporters in the nation covering the Rutgers.
I think Anime Cards is his next big beat, from what I understand. If we're not careful, we're going to lose him.
How much juice is the Pokemon thing going to be putting into the stadium, into the Jersey Mike's Center?
They're not going to care. There's going to be even less interest.
They're going to be on their phones selling their cards.
Or barely paying attention to any of the basketball that's happening in front of them. And that's what I mean. Like, I think that there's some real value in, like, Nebraska has to be in this sort of sleepy environment where they have to show up and play. It's an opportunity for Rink Mass to kind of put the last 6-7 games behind him. And hopefully he's had a chance to put himself back together after what sounded like a miserable week a week ago. And so you've got all of this, and Rutgers took Michigan State into overtime the same day that Nebraska played Michigan. So they certainly cannot be discounted. And we saw Michigan State just lose to Minnesota, a team that Nebraska was trailing at half and then kicked the shit out of in the second.
Yeah.
So I am I am very happy with how this has gone schedule-wise. And it just only exists in my own brain, but I feel like the more I talk about it, the more I can convince other people that this is good.
Rutgers has a weird combo of some pretty not good losses and then playing some really good teams pretty tight as I look at their schedule. You mentioned Michigan State, they were close, but on like they were within 3 at USC, which, you know, USC is not a tier 1 school, but still that's better than you'd think they would do. But then they go to Illinois, they lose by almost 30. They lose to UCLA on the road by over 30. But then they were fairly tight at Wisconsin, closer than you would think. They were only lost by 6 at Iowa. I watched some of that game. That was fairly tight. And you mentioned the Michigan State game. And so, like, they are all over the map in terms of, it's really hard to look at their schedule and get a sense of how, you know, exactly where they are, other than the fact that they've lost 6 games in a row and 7 out of 8 and 8 out of 10. And the record is really bad, but they have given some good teams good tests. And so I think that goes to exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, and I would expect them to give Nebraska a test on Saturday, but then I also sort of have the expectation that Nebraska meets them where they stand and eventually ends up with a double-digit win. I mean, that's not I don't know that that's a super bold prediction at this point when we've seen Nebraska kind of do that.
I don't know.
When they're not playing top 5 teams.
I will feel so much better if they look again like they have earlier this year, which they really have, all except for like a few minutes
1 week
of one game. Well, they even look great against Michigan for the most part too. Like, and even parts of Illinois, they look pretty good. And here I am starting to worry, but it would just, oh man, it would. I feel like I'd be able. That's why this week is so long. What you said at the beginning, you wake up and you're like, is there still not a game today? Good.
Yeah.
Has it been a month since that Illinois game? I'm telling you, it feels like forever. And it's still not, well, it's tomorrow. Yeah, it's Friday now. Good. Finally. But that's a part of it. I will feel so much better if you can do that and then go into Purdue and just wind the hype thing back up again, like you're redoing it another time with the Illinois game. I have a question for you real quick. What was your reaction? I was watching that Michigan State Minnesota game while we were doing our Wednesday night show. Josh and I were, which by the way, you can go to patreon.com/IID Club and you can see that premium show where we get a little more inside baseball and have some inside information for you and have some Q&A. What was your reaction? Did you have a similar reaction about Minnesota? Did you start thinking them as the Great Lakes Washington when you saw that? Or what was your reaction?
I was clued in on it very early when they were kind of up 5, then up 7, then got up 12. And I wasn't in a place where I could kind of watch it as it was going on, but I was score tracking it on my phone.
I love it.
It was
love it.
2008 or something. And I'm doing the 1-800-555-TELL to get my updates about what's going on here. So,
but even when you were like just hearing the result though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was when they were up 13 with 3 minutes to go. It's like, all right, it's going to take a real Herculean effort to not win this thing. And they tried their best to not do it. But a lot of it for me is I have a big need for Nebraska to finish in the top 4 in this conference. I felt like of the teams that were likely to sort of go away, Michigan State was at the top of that list. Yeah. And I think Purdue is going to pass them. Michigan State's kind of fascinating because of the teams we've watched Nebraska play in Michigan and Illinois and Michigan State, they feel like a clear third. And I thought that even before Illinois came in and moved to number 1 with what they did on Sunday. Like they're not a particularly intimidating Michigan State team to me. Their best players feel like ones that Nebraska's defense can kind of hound a little bit. I don't feel like they have the athletic bigs inside that are going to deter Nebraska from what they want to do offensively. I actually thought Nebraska didn't play as well as they could have, and Michigan State needed, the technical fouls and everything else to sort of even stay within the margin that they did in that game. And so it's a sort of a deal where not that they're clearly an NCAA tournament team and they can clearly beat Nebraska. It's just that relative to Michigan and Illinois, I was already putting them down or wrong. And Purdue is sort of the team where I don't know what to do with them yet.
No,
because they preseason very highly regarded, and then they kind of had some clunkers in there. But now it seems like sort of similar to Illinois, Nebraska might be catching them at a time where Purdue is playing some really good basketball again, which I think is actually a good thing because Nebraska needs these games as to sort of measure themselves. Like, this is such a unique territory. Instead of just needing to stack wins like it was last year, it's a, hey, we got to figure out, if this is a team that's going to make a run in the NCAA tournament, I think beating Purdue at home is something that should be a fair expectation for that.
Yeah, if Nebraska can,
which sounds like it's insane sentence to say out loud.
This happens every day now. Any conversation about Nebraska basketball any day, like, man, I'm afraid they're going to get a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament.
I really want that too.
That's a sentence that exists in my life.
I've become very married to this idea that Nebraska is a top 8 team in the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
And I cannot explain to you why I feel the necessity that me, a person who's never seen them seated higher than 8th in my watching life,
it feels important.
Now feels like I need them to be a 2.
It feels like the difference between 2 and 3 is significant for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, it really does.
More than 3
even
and
though
4.
they would play each other on the collision course on their way to a Sweet 16, and yet I want to be the 2 because I want the 7 and 10 to go to war and then turn around and have to play Nebraska, a day later.
And I do not. A 15 beating a 2. I don't know what the numbers are. 15 beating a 2 seems a lot less frequent than a 14 beating a 3, and that's certainly a 13 and a 4 with that. But one more thing on the Purdue, I just looking at the standings and along with what you just said, it really feels like this is maybe too obvious, but Nebraska can beat Purdue. It becomes it's a 3. There are 3 top tier teams, big gap, medium sized gap. Purdue, Michigan State could beat anybody, I'm sure. But just in terms of who they are as a whole, Nebraska goes with Illinois and Michigan, and Purdue, Michigan State, UCLA, Iowa. I don't know who belongs exactly in that. And so it really is a delineating thing for this stretch run. And if Nebraska wins both these next 2 games, you start thinking about, again, things like, hey, cheering for results that help you win the conference in the regular season. You start thinking about a 2 seed as the default, right? And then, hey, if things get crazy, what could happen there? Instead of all of those being one notch further down.
Right. Yeah. And again, it all starts back up Saturday against Rutgers, and then it's kind of it's going to be consistent. You get your 2 games a week all the way through until we hopefully have a nice long break for Nebraska to play in the Big Ten tournament as a top 4 seed. That's what we would like here. Let's dive over to football, where I had planned to start thing. And I kind of want to gauge where you're at, because you're sort of a fascinating person to talk to about this, because you kind of go out of your way to not talk about well, you have to talk about it because it's sort of, you're moonlighting now here with the I-80 club, but you're not an off-season football guy. Like, you don't care about the recruiting. You don't care about spring football. You certainly don't seem to care about the, pictures of guys in the weight room and determining whether the muscles have gotten bigger from one year to another.
Are people doing that? Wait, are people doing that? Is that a thing?
I would like to introduce you to every message board that has Nebraska football fans or any college football fans.
Wow.
You're not going to analyze the Spark test results or whatever it is that they'll put out from their conditioning or anything else. You're not probably treating the mat drill videos like the Zapruder film. So these are the things that people would do and then turn around and tell you that everyone else hyped them up for the season. Like, but you get the sense that there's a little bit more of a reined in version of the Nebraska fan base. I am curious where you are at with this being in the off season. We're now kind of in the most quiet part of it, the sort of stretch between the end of the portal and now the next thing is going to be the start of spring football. Where are you at with this team? How do you sort of feel about the season that's up ahead? I know that we're so drilled in on football that it's hard to pull out and think about something that really doesn't matter until August, but that's kind of what I'm asking you to do here.
Yeah, I am in a period of time where in most seasons it's hard to think of anything to say, Let me say one thing. The transfer portal, I think, I do like the transfer portal. That all interests me, because you've got a lot more known quantities. You've got part of the reason I don't like talking.
It rewards your random watching of college football.
Yes, for sure. Like, I know the names. I don't know the high school recruits' names. I don't know the assistant coaches' names, and I for damn sure don't know if any of them are good or bad. And to be able to give any kind of an evaluation that isn't just reliant on, if it's a recruit, texting you, at least in the past, and finding that out. And so that's part of the reason I don't enjoy delving into that, because I don't have anything worthwhile to say. I don't, and I know, and the other part about like assistant coaching season, which is drug on longer than it usually does this year with the special teams coach situation, is just, I don't know. This has been an ongoing war for years in the I-80 club, and I'm usually on the minority end of it, but there is a level of obsession about assistant coaches, and I'm not saying they don't matter. They obviously matter, but there is a level of assistant coaches in reaction to assistant coaches, who they got, who they didn't get, those sorts of things, that sometimes feels a little overdramatic to me in the whole process of it. Now,
I mean, a point in your favor would be nobody could have named an assistant coach at Indiana before they ripped off this 2-year run.
Exactly.
Also, all of them came with Curt Cignetti, and he hired his buddies, and that's what you do in this profession.
Right. Now, all that said, Mike Eckler flies in the face of all of that, because I've never seen I still think that is the best case ever that I have seen, at least at Nebraska, for like direct causation, the assistant coach's presence being the most obvious, direct, biggest causation of success. I think that is diluted.
I've heard people say this, and I do have some other counter examples.
Okay, I'd love to hear it.
What about Bo Pelini in 2003?
I suppose that's the case, and I'd have to look back at the personnel as well in terms of what changed from 02 to 03. And I reserve the right to make a counter argument that there were more, when you're looking at a whole defense, the personnel is more impactful than a special team situation. While there are a few very key personnel, that's one of the things that always it's, the X's and O's versus the Jimmies and the Joes, whole conversation. That would be in the discussion though, because it was so dramatic. And if you had very, the same roster, essentially, that would be a good one as well. But aside from those exceptions, it's normally, to me, very hard to decipher exactly how good an assistant coach is, while it seems like everyone else knows for sure. It's amazing. And most of them, when they know for sure, all they did was look up the freaking Wikipedia page, and then they know. The rush for people to go to the Wikipedia page when you hear an assistant coach is hired or is on the market is, I think the traffic at the Wikipedia centers in wherever that is, the meter starts going, Nebraska fans are looking up an assistant coach and acting like they know who they are. Because the vast majority of them have no freaking idea, let alone how good they are. They haven't heard their name, yet by the afternoon, they've got a full assessment of them. And they're like, and what their shortcomings are going to be at Nebraska. It's bizarre. And so that whole conversation just gets tiresome to me. And so that's why that part of it. And so to actually answer the initial question that you liked, I also know myself, Mike. I've got a almost 50-year history of seasonal patterns in my life as it pertains to sports. Okay. Right now, I was, I'm listening to your podcast and I'm like, all right, let's get to the basketball. I'm listening to Unemployed. I'm listening to you and your unnamed co-host in the morning. And I'm like, all right, special teams, get this crap over with. Let's get to the basketball. Right. That's where I am now, because it's depressing, because it's all of the other things. And it is depressing now. It really is. There's that on top of all of those other things. It feels like in some ways they improved year over year. The way that it ended, combined with some other things going on, Dylan Raiola leaving and everything that did it, this turned into one of the most sort of, I don't know if depressing is the right word, but it's just sort of gray off seasons ever. Maybe even
malaise. There's a real malaise over this
that's a good
offseason.
word. That's a good word. Maybe that was there in 2021, but I don't think it was for me personally. And so at least to this level. And so there's that factors in now. And so, yeah, I'm at a different, and then you throw in Nebraska basketball being an alternative as well. This is the perfect storm of just having so little interest and knowing that it will still be there when I need it down the road.
Yeah.
And nothing is going to change. I'm not going to miss any news, right, that I can't be without right now on this. I can't do much analysis on it because I don't freaking know. But I will tell you this. I do know this. Anything I say right now, you can take it with a grain of salt, because I can guarantee you when August comes around, my optimism is going to start shining through. And I have this bizarre thing where I air optimistic for Nebraska football and I air pessimistic for Nebraska basketball. You can see where that was born in my history, of course, but it's persisted all the way through all these years. And so I'm sure when we get there, I'm going to start eating the red meat that the media who wants clicks are going to be giving us, trying to say that they look great in practice, right? This is that they had a team only meeting and it was great, that they look fantastic coming off the practice bus or whatever.
I'm always so fascinated because I don't think these things actually happen.
No, I don't either. I'm mocking.
I know that you are, but what you're saying is the literal message board posts that someone will have in December of 26
all the time. I mean, that is one of the biggest. It's so weird.
It's a truism.
The biggest critique of Nebraska football media in August, July and August, is just rose-colored glasses, right? Not leading the fans astray, making them get excited when they shouldn't be. And then we start talking during the season, and all of a sudden we've got the negativity police that come out. What level of optimism or pessimism is the right level for you all? Can you just tell us? Just tell us. I would be glad to do it. My problem isn't that I don't want to do it for you. It's that I can't decipher what in the F you want.
I don't have an answer. I think that's why I feel good about.
Most media members feel this way.
Yeah, well, I think most people, if you kind of hear it from both sides of the equation, you feel like you're probably approaching it with the right version of whatever it is that you're trying to do. I mean, I don't think, full stop, I don't think most, if not all, of Nebraska's media do not have like some nefarious plan to try to make you care more about a team that you already care enough about to consume the product.
Nope. It's positivity gets clicks in the summer, negativity gets clicks in the fall. That's the formula, Mike. It's a click bonanza.
I mean, if there's negativity in the fall, it's probably been earned by the play on the field, but that's a different conversation.
And then the truth of the matter for me is because as I'm an outward fan. My emotions guide me. Trust me. My opinion on Nebraska football, you can trust me or not, it ain't guided by clicks, okay? You don't know me if you think that's the case.
All right. I'm excited for this. I feel like the blind rankings thing was created specifically with you in mind.
Well, why do you say that? Why do you say that?
There's so many topics that I can just sort of come up with where it's like, oh yeah, I couldn't give this to anybody else, but Jack Mitchell's going to have a strong feeling on it. And depending on how his 1 through 5 goes, this could really eat at him for at least an entire hour after he does it.
All right.
And here is your topic for today. Lincoln food establishments that no longer exist.
Ooh, I love this. Okay. Do you care? I know I am more annoying when I play this because I ask you for additional. I'm ranking them by the quality,
what you missed
how much
the most,
I like them,
you missed the most,
maybe which I would like to bring back the most.
Yeah.
Okay,
perfect.
That's great. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
And
That's
all
what I
of these
needed.
are specific locations, not a individual generic, like, oh, it no longer exists. Does that make sense?
So it could still exist. It might be a
A
location
version of
of
it might still exist,
Got it.
but
I
this
understand.
specific location
Oh,
does
wow.
not.
I'm trying to think of what you might mean by that.
There's only one where you could sort of push back against
Oh,
it.
I
I'll let you
know.
kind
I
of
bet
figure
I
it
know
out.
one of them. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Rock and Roll Runza.
Okay, that's not what I was thinking.
That was previously on 14th and P, I believe.
Man, I'm going low on this, just FYI, and I don't know if this is going to piss people off. It was fine. It was unique. Once, wow, it was a real novelty. Let's just say that. This is not, man, I don't think I've ever sat down and been like, man, I could sure go for a night at Rock and Roll Runs. I'm tempted to go 5 on this first one because I can't hardly and it's not even that I dislike it. It's just I don't feel any longing. I feel longing for a lot of restaurants, whether they're open or not. I'm gonna go 5 on. I'm gonna start at 5. But you're famous for putting crap at the end of this. Is what you'll always do to me. I think you're switching up. I'm inside your head now. You're reversing what you did last week. You're saving a really good one for the end. Don't change your order. Okay.
I never do. I never.
There's no way anyone can know that, Mike.
No,
by
I
the way.
know.
I think you should have to.
Way.
Honestly, I think you should send it to Josh or whoever you're doing it with, and so we can have like an audit after the fact and make sure this actually or have an envelope you pull them out of. That's all you would have to do.
Okay. All right. I can do that. I can do that. We can make sure that there is no question
I'm not
about
saying
how
you're lying, but I'm not saying you're not either. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. The next one here, Applebee's on Q Street.
Oh, good. Damn it. Stop. Dang it. I went there once.
See, I would have thought you'd have been there more than once. But maybe it hadn't been an Applebee's as long as I thought that it had been.
It just wasn't a good location for me. I mean, I wasn't like in college I went there once, and John Bishop and I had a remote there during the NCAA tournament. We tried, it was like on the Thursday afternoon games of the NCAA tournament one year. No. It was when and I remember we were watching Western Kentucky, and I remember that. I think Kugler was calling the game. And because Randy Lee did the play-by-play for Western Kentucky then. And I was like, here Randy Lee had to go to Western Kentucky to finally get an NCAA run in the NCAA tournament. The answer is 4, but the end of the story is we hyped this thing. It's like, it's the watch party, and I'm envisioning these radio guys who'll go to a sports bar. The whole place is packed. It's the Thursday of the NCAA tournament. Well, it turns out the reason Applebee's needed to do a remote is because nobody wants to go downtown and watch the NCAA tournament there because there's a million better places. And so it was it was John, me, and my waitress and her flair. That's all.
Okay.
The jalapeno shooters, that's more of a Chili's thing, though. I'm sure the food was great. Obviously, I'm a big Applebee's is very important. It's why I have a family and really a life right now. So I don't mean to besmirch the name, but Applebee's in 1998 is quite a different thing than Applebee's in 2010.
Okay. All right. I don't know if this is.
You get so much more. People get so much more than they want from me on all of these. Other ones.
Oh, I like it.
People are like 4. I don't know.
This next one, I think, will have its own side conversation as well. Maybe not. Maybe not. Boston Market on 48th
Oh, gee. Okay. I feel okay, but man, you're going on the low end of things here, which does validate my theory. When Boston Market opened, circa 1990, over there on 48th and R Street, it was called Boston Rotisserie Chicken at the time.
Sure.
Surprisingly, they thought that name really limited the perception of what they served there, so they changed it to Boston Market. you can believe me, you cannot believe me if you weren't there. I specifically remember watching the Michigan-Colorado Hail Mary game, the Westbrook touchdown. And we were planning as a family to go out to eat to the new Boston rotisserie chicken after that. I was excited enough at that point. I felt a little torn toward the end of that game. Should we watch this play? Should we not? The mashed potatoes are calling. And luckily we did stay, and my dad and I watched the end of it in the basement. And then we went out, and you went there, and it's like Thanksgiving dinner in a fast food restaurant.
It's a feast.
And everything is made fresh. Like I don't know what we even thought what they did at other restaurants, but you could see it. And like real sides, green beans. I don't know why I would have been excited about that. I don't really like green beans. But like just the novelty of it was astounding when they came to Lincoln. That game was what, 1994?
Yeah.
So that's around thereabouts they opened. They had been open for maybe a little while then. And the buzz, you would go, Mike, you'd go to the coffee house, you'd go to the co-ops, everybody's talking about it. Outside your locker at school, it's Boston rotisserie chicken talk everywhere, side choices everywhere, right?
Were they the first to establish in what I named the chicken district in Lincoln?
You're probably right. They may have been the
chicken district pioneers,
because what all is included now? You got Raising Cane's, you've got
Popeyes.
Popeyes was there earlier.
Chick-fil-A
obviously way later.
Obviously late, yeah.
Popeyes was open when I moved here, I'm pretty sure, and my dad loved that place. Man, he liked Popeyes before liking Popeyes was cool. He liked Popeyes when everyone thought Popeyes was gross.
I mean, my dad went to New Orleans and came back. This was like 1995, and came back and was raving about a place that he had discovered down there called Popeyes. So,
what is it about dads in that place? Like my mom traveled a lot for work, and if we ever got to go out, my sister and me, my dad would be like, Popeyes? I'm like, I don't know, I guess. I liked the biscuits. I don't know. I was pretty young. So Popeyes was actually, I think, the very first of the chicken district. All so right. 3, I feel good about that 3. I wish I could flip 4 and 5, but so be it. I'm ready to go on. I hope you don't lowball me more, but how much more can you?
You know these places, they're all familiar for you. And this is less of a place as so much of it is an experience, but it was wiped out of all the places in Lincoln. And yes, I am talking about the Valentino's buffet.
So all of or not one specific location?
What I have in mind for this one, if we wanted to have it as one specific location, is not the original one, but the one that I probably frequented more.
70th and Van Dorn, right?
70th and Van Dorn, yeah.
I mean, it's one, and it's not. There's nothing within 50 miles of it, but yes, it's one.
The experience for me of like Columbus had a Valentino's buffet, and it was good, and it was often like the birthday meal in our family household, because you got it's kind of your best bang for your buck if you're a kid. You get all these different food options. But then when I went down to Lincoln for college, and the first time I went to that one on 70th and whatever on like Sunday, when it would be like Sunday evening, they had like a deal. I don't know if it was for college students or everybody or whatever. And you walk in, and this was before buffets had sort of reached a point where I was kind of repulsed by them a little bit.
Right. It was still an exciting novelty.
Yeah. It was like what I assume the gates of heaven would have been for a 19-year-old college student who had the $6 required to get as many plates as he wanted while filling up his drink in the large plastic cups.
I have goosebumps right now. Let me tell you,
it was somehow better than I had ever had Valentino's before.
It was, and the place was amazing too before they had the buffet as well. So but the early days of the buffet added such a level of shock and intrigue to the whole thing for myself, and I think everyone at that point. And the buzz, the palpable buzz that there was. those Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. We used to get it carry out a lot on Sunday nights, and they would put the pizza. They put it in. I don't know why they did this. Like they would put it. I can still hear it. They would put it in a big white paper bag, and on the cut. And they had the place where you did the pickup was around on the north side. It was a completely separate area. The walls were all painted yellow, and it was like the floor of the New York Stock Exchange in there on a Sunday night. It was crazy, but that doesn't even compare to what you were talking about, and that is getting there for the buffet in its early days, and they're like, you're probably looking at about 2 hours. You're like, all right, sounds good, seems fair. And then they would do this thing, and this sounds made up, but anyone who's around my age or older in Lincoln, or your age or older, maybe even, but they'd give you a long waiting time, right? 45 minutes, hour, whatever it is. And then one waitress or someone from the kitchen would bring up, I kid you not, an entire pizza, and they would just set it down in the waiting room or the area, and people would just onto this thing.
On it, yeah.
People would just clear the freaking thing out in 45 seconds. They would just like throw a little chum in the water. And so you would eat pizza while you were waiting to eat pizza. That's if that is not what heaven is, I don't know what it is. And then it happened in a time in I don't know about you, but in my life where calorie counts were not important, where my metabolism was off, I was.
Yeah, I mean, being a 19-year-old college student,
I played football. I was playing football at that time, right. And there was no feeling full then. Doesn't feel like it does now. Even everything about it, and it's hard to even explain to my kids now how amazing the thought was of having both pasta and pizza available to you, and then dessert. What I mean. This is like the closest I can explain how I feel during this Nebraska basketball season. Is the first time I saw all the things available. Like every new level was a dream.
Yeah.
It was like, how can this even be? I was like, how can this financial model work for them? How is this happening? And I would go through and I'd have a strategy too. And I would get the same, we got to wait. When's there going to be a bacon cheeseburger pizza out with the pickle in the middle? When are we going to go for that? Am I going to try this weird one? Whatever it is. And I got to, at the end, I'm going to get the cinnamon crunchy pizza and put the ice cream on top of it. Actually, I'll probably put it in a bowl. Like I can break down, if I give it 5 minutes of thought, like my exact 10-step strategy for going through the peak of the Valentino's buffet.
I appreciate you saying what you did about the pasta, because to me, like the way that I would attack this thing is you start with the salad bar. You get your salad. I'd have like some pudding, cottage cheese, whatever.
You would get bread with the salad.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Start with that, like
a breadstick and a garlic roll.
Yep, start with that first. That's done, and then I would just go get a large plate and just fill it up with pasta. It could be the rotini noodles. It could be the penne noodles.
Yep.
I just fill it up. I decide which of the sauces I wanted. I've never been I don't like a ton of sauce, so I'd probably put less on than most people, but the pasta was always like the draw to me of the Valentino's buffet. I like the pizza, and my thoughts on the pizza in general, but the pizza was fine. The pizza was sort of almost like what I ate before. Then you get to the desserts where you have the dessert pizzas, you have cobblers, you have the ice cream machine in Columbus was so popular. There would just be this line of you just have to wait. And then you have people filling with the swirl and then putting their toppings on top of it.
Or they would put the fruit pizza and all of the dessert pizzas, and then on the oval plates they had, and then they would just run the ice cream over top of it, basically like a whole plate. The pizza was, I will agree with you. The buffet pizza was different than the pizza you ordered. It was not as good, but I didn't care. Food quality was a different world in that time. I can't explain to you. Not you, Mike, but young people. You'll never understand, you and your high standards. But I did exactly what you did. Salad first, primary pasta second, but I take a side item, which is a piece of pizza with the pasta. And then I have the pizza stage next, which is just whole plate of pizza. And then maybe a second round of whatever I feel like maybe wasn't
I would
out
sometimes
there.
go back for pasta because I
Well, they're
wasn't sure when
maybe
I
a
would
little
ever get to
pasta.
have it
Maybe
again.
I didn't have room for something. I get back, so that would be round 2. That'd be round 4, which is the reconnaissance mission essentially. Anyone we left, we got to go back and rescue. And then round 5 is the dessert, and that's also a main course. And I'll say this: having been in Italy, that's very similar to the meals that they eat there. And so I know there's some of you who are like, I don't like this because it's not authentic. While they don't generally do it with a buffet and they do it with about 80 times less food, it kind of models the Italian way of eating, which you'll be learning about a lot during the Olympics in the next couple of weeks. God, I know we're going to go along again. I'm so glad you brought that. I would like to do a whole podcast focused on the 70th and Van Dorn Valentinos.
I mean, we could probably make that happen.
And I don't mean one podcast. I mean a weekly podcast, and bring in different guests, or maybe do like you do, a five guest pattern. We talk about the 70th.
Why don't we just go to Valentino's and see if they want us to do an oral history of the 70th? And
would love to. Yeah, and I bet Tony Messina would talk to us. Anthony, I should say. They refer to Tony as dad, but Anthony, I know Anthony. He's a good guy. He probably doesn't like you, but I could get him perhaps to do that with us. That would be great.
Okay.
I may not have to, but I'm sure they hate you. It's too bad that you've burned
up
bridges.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm okay with that.
One last one. My last two-a-day for football, my senior year. We finished it. This is the fall of 1995. We finished the last two-a-day of the year. It was the last summer practice two-a-day of the year. So this is like August, and it's a Friday. We're done. There's a weekend, and then school starts the next week. So it's Friday afternoon, about 2:00 after the second practice. You put those wet pads on from the morning practice because it's just that locker room nasty. We were so hungry. It's like 2:00 in the afternoon dining. 2 of my friends and I went into that Valentino's, and I bet we ate. And I know, I mean, I'd like to estimate. I think we came out financially ahead of that deal by upwards of $400, the amount of food that we ate. And then we all went into my basement, the air conditioning basement of my house, turned off all the lights, and we watched the 1994 VHS of the Nebraska football season.
Very normal, very cool.
That's what living in the 90s in Lincoln was like.
Well, if you lived in the 90s or even the 2000s in Lincoln, you were more than likely familiar with this place as well.
I can't, but when they closed it, when they put a hospital there, it was, some people almost like cry when certain celebrities die, like their favorite, and you kind of think it's weird. You're like, okay, you don't know them. Well, that's how I felt. I cried.
Yeah. It's understandable. I think this place hit you really hard too. The last one on your list.
Okay.
It'll go at number 2. Downtown Amigos.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's 1-2. Yes, that is absolutely right. 1-2. I'm glad. I know you were doing this. I had you. You were not a good poker player, or I am a great poker player. I don't know which it is. I read the hell out of you on this.
Okay.
Yeah, Downtown Amigos. Now, it is only, I mean, I have easily as much passion for Amigos generally as I do, maybe more than Valentino's. Valentino's is more location-based, I would say. The Downtown Amigos, since I did not go to UNL in undergrad, I will admit I have less direct connection. That said, I will listen to stories about 1993 to 1999 or whatever, 1980, maybe even further back. I will listen to anyone. You want my attention? You say you got stories about that Downtown Amigos after bars closed, because I will listen to the hell out of them. I know the county sheriff who was hired to patrol that place after bar close, Woody. And he is, I have asked him, I was like, can I just sit here and will you just talk for like an hour and say things about your experiences there? And he loved it. He was like, saw this girl once, had to weigh like 95 pounds, saw her drink 4 cups of ranch.
Ugh.
like stories like that. Like you just he would tell me but I don't have those late. I had a little bit of it when I was in law school, but not a lot. We usually went through the drive-through then and went out.
Sure.
But I still do have some I have a ton of loyalty to the concept, some level of loyalty, do have some experiences. My son and I, when we would go to games at Devaney and then PBA when he was younger, I was like trying not to spend money. And I was like, okay, Johnny, we can either get a hot dog at the game, 1 hot dog, or you can have as much as you want off the Amigos menu before the game. or a kid's meal or whatever it was. And so we would drive through that Amigos and then eat Amigos as we drove
on the way
to Devaney, probably. I don't know. I just remember doing that with him several times. But yeah, man, Amigos, after bar Amigos, man. Oh.
Was there any place that you were expecting to pop up on this that I didn't use? Another stuff that I didn't have any relationship to PO pairs.
Definitely, but you didn't.
I didn't have any relationship to that. There wasn't really anything I could think of that I was missing that I figured you would have a super strong reaction.
I'm glad you didn't have Tony and Luigi's because I just missed Tony and Luigi's, but that's always one people love to have in Lincoln that they love to talk about. There are a lot, like for me, I could also go on and on about the East Park food court, which is not one restaurant, but an entire food court. There are some others, but I think you hit most of them. Like Misty's Havelock is still open, isn't it? I haven't been there for so long. So that's grandmothers. Oh,
okay. Yeah.
Oh, grandmothers.
And I was kind of.
I said I wasn't going to cry during this podcast. Oh my gosh.
We haven't even gotten to the things that annoy you, which is now up.
Yeah.
What are 3 things annoying Jack Mitchell this week?
Number 1, the Olympics. But wait, not necessarily why you might think. We are in the worst era ever of the Olympics. Now, this is not going to be as much of a problem in the summer, but I loved the Olympics when I was a kid and not even knowing what tape delay was or that it was a thing. And even if I did know that it was tape delayed, knowing there was no way I could find out. Well, like there's no possible way I could find out even if I wanted to. I couldn't call someone who was in Lillehammer. There was nothing I could do to find out. So it was as good as live when it was on the other side of the world. Every single time that you watched it, and you only watched it for the most part in prime time, although they would put hockey games live on like USA as we got a little bit later into it. But that was great because it was the same all of the time. Now, like you can either have the experience of when it's on the other side of the world, watching it at 2 PM or 9 AM, and you're watching the 100-meter dash at 9 AM from Beijing, and Usain Bolt is winning it, and it just doesn't hit the same way as it does during prime time. But if you wait and watch it at prime time, it's almost impossible now to avoid spoilers on it anyway. And even if you do, I still believe there is something that I tried this with Nebraska basketball games this year that I couldn't see the beginning of, where I paused and I was like, all right, we'll catch up. We did this with the Michigan game. My wife and daughter were at her dance class and they were like, could you pause it and we can all watch it together? And I was like, sure. We're only going to you'll be like 20 minutes after the game starts. And I turned into a psycho during the part that we weren't watching live, desperate to get to the live part. It's because I feel like there could be some earth-shattering thing that happened and I would know somehow. And
meanwhile, I'm sure you're getting messages. You're,
and I'm worried about my phone. Yes, that's I put my phone in the other room. I'm worried that one of my friends is going to text me and I won't answer it. And then like, well, I'm just going to drive to his house and tell him what happened on that 3-pointer. Okay, so that's number 1. I don't know if that resonates with anyone, but it's not quite the the excitement that
I
it was, and I'm bummed.
I can accept and believe that. I personally am excited to just be able to have random sports on, especially also because you do
especially in the morning, Mike.
Show, and
yes,
I do, yes.
So we get to watch random sports during the World Cup. That's true. I do appreciate that. The Olympics, the World Cup, the British Open, COVID,
the Australian Open.
The Australian Open.
We're watching a lot of tennis,
and then COVID with like Korean or Chinese baseball.
Sure.
So those are the sports that you get to watch in the morning. That's very exciting.
Hoping the World Baseball Classic has a handful of morning games as well.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, so you'll start to appreciate that more. Number 2 on this list. I need to find a place between Papa Bear and Mama Bear when it comes to earbuds. Let me explain. When the Apple AirPods, are you wearing Apple AirPods right now, by the way? Yeah, you usually do. My kids wanted them. Everybody wanted them. And I kind of took a dad position on them right off the bat that I thought was funny and a little true at the time. And now I've locked into it over the 10 years or whatever that they've existed. And that's that they look weird. And I'm sorry that you're wearing them. I didn't consider this, but I'm actually not. I think it's funnier. Like they look like earrings that were put on upside down and inside your ear or something. And and they're also expensive. And so I've made a point all my life because my kid, everyone in my family has them except me. And by the way, some of them have lost them and had to buy them again. And so I prove a point by buying no earbuds over $15. All from Amazon, all 100% made in China, all 100% sending all my personal information directly to the Chinese government. And so I've done this. And I have defended this way of doing things to my family forever, saying, look, because I can never find my earbuds. And so I buy multiple. I own like 5 of them. They're all over the house. And then the dog will get one, or they won't start working. And then another one will arrive in the mail, and someone will be like, did you buy more AirPods? Yeah, but you know how many of these I got to buy to match up with the $300 or whatever you're wearing in your ear, like a goofy ass earring? A lot of them. So lay off.
Where are you paying $300 for AirPods?
Whatever. I haven't checked the price. They were probably that much when they first came out. Anyhow. I'm starting to wonder if I should have got higher quality products. And I don't think I can go back now. I think I have entrenched in this position.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if and now I'm kind of in the Apple system. I have a Mac.
Oh, you're getting AirPods.
If they change, I feel like if they maybe changed, if they gave you just an in-ear capability, because I really do like all in-ear ones better. My kids think that's hilarious too. I'm like, how is that nerdy? How is that nerdier than having a white pipe hanging out of your ear? I don't get it. Like, I don't understand I like the in-ear ones. So,
I'm like the wrong person to ask.
That's right. I realized again how problematic everything I'm saying the more that I talk about this that I did not think of. And it's all dawning on me gradually, every word I say. Right.
Not everybody knows, so that's okay.
But in any case, it also has to do with the price. That's also a part of it as well. No, and just like sort of an I'm not doing what everyone else is doing stance. And now I think maybe they were all right. I don't think I can go back to it, but now I kind of want them. Anyway, last but not least, and I'll make this one short because we're over. Not by much, though. Impressive. So I don't know if people noticed, but it was beautiful outside yesterday. And it's going, I think Monday, Mike, we could be in the 70s here in Lincoln, Nebraska, or in Omaha.
Cargo short warning.
And so, there are a lot of people wearing shorts, but I happen to work in a job now where I can wear shorts if I want to, and I take advantage of that. I have a general rule that I stick to pretty well, that if the high temperature is over freezing, it's a short stay. And it never fails when it's, cooler than 50. The high is lower than 50. Someone during my day, somewhere, a coworker, someone just out in the public, shorts? Oh, yeah, shorts. I can handle it. I'm going to be okay. Shorts in this weather? Someone will say that to me. On average, once a day during the entirety of the winter portion, that is a high between the temperatures of 32 and 50.
I am looking out my window right now as a man is walking his dog wearing shorts.
I do that every day that it's in that medium range for
no
winter.
Part of me finds it surprising or would be like, oh,
there is a portion of the society, and I don't know even where it comes from. I don't know if it's about concern for my well-being. I don't know if it's about some sort of moral code or someone who has really sort of Slavic attachment to the seasons or what it is. But shorts, like, they're just clutching their pearls everywhere I go about this thing. And usually I'm just like, yeah, you know. And my argument is to them, if they really want to push me on it, and we're going to actually we're going to have it, we're doing this, we're going to have this out. I say, listen for a second here. In my typical day, okay, and you know, maybe I'm fortunate, I spend, you know, not counting walking my dog, and I can change clothes if I need to, I spend, I don't know, 90 seconds outside. Why would you dress for the 0.01 portion of your day's weather instead of the 99.99?
This is a great explanation for why I don't really own a coat.
I have gone by that exact. I completely agree. If I will never go to a basketball game in my life if I can. High school primarily, but college, I hate having a coat at a basketball game. I would walk from that Seacrest parking lot up into the North Winds at Lincoln East on January, and it was 20 below. And I would rather do that than have a coat with me there. Sitting on the stands, getting trampled on. I might forget it. Fall through the little crack in the bleachers. I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. So I will just ditch the coat. But I'm comfortable for 2 hours of being indoors and not worrying about that and enduring 90 seconds of pain that's probably toughening me up anyway. And so maybe I should turn the tables, right? These people who are the 1%ers, I like to call them, that dress for the 1% of their day instead of the rest of them. When I see them inside and the thermostat is set at 75, I'll go, pants? In this weather? Pants? That's all.
Incredible. It's incredible. This is the best way to finish my week every single week. Every single week between the blind rankings.
Like, I love this show.
I was excited about the blind rankings today, and then it was somehow even better.
I love this show, Mike, because unlike most places, I get to actually tell all the stories that I talk about when mics aren't on. Microphones aren't on. So, and you are doing a good job of setting me up of telling those. So
I try to be the point guard on the pick and roll here that we run. All right. Well, we're past an hour as we are every Friday.
Barely.
That's become a new tradition.
This is going to be our shortest show ever, believe it or not, I think.
It might be. It could be. That's all right.
We started late.
We'll see if we can go longer next week. We'll see what it is. We'll see what it brings for us. We'll be back on Monday. Assuming I have a voice, there will be a show. That did not happen.
That was rough. That was rough.
It was bad.
Hey,
it was bad.
Can I promote our company here? I-80 Club tomorrow, Saturday morning coffee. Josh Peterson, myself, we'll get you. It's kind of like a little pre-game for Nebraska Rutgers. So I will
crash one of these coffee shows.
You're welcome to. If you want to come on tomorrow, you can, or whenever you want to. We'll have you on. And so it'll be 9 to. I think we're going 9 to 10 tomorrow. I think that's the plan. Game's at 11. So great way to lead up to the basketball game. I'm sure Josh will make us talk about some football crap too. But anyway, 9 to 10, we'll do that. And then I will be on with Caleb immediately after the game, roughly 3:30 I got to always remember the name because we changed the name and it's been a year. Nebrasketball Hour. The Nebrasketball Hour, brought to you by our great sponsors, Nebraska Realty, Wahoo Office. And
I was just talking
to the tourney. Yes, go ahead.
I was talking to those guys before the Illinois game.
They're awesome. Full mask guy.
full mask guy, Kurt, and then
Kurt, Dan the auctioneer.
Yes,
you got to meet. I haven't met Dan the auctioneer.
I'm pretty sure it's Dan, tall guy. He only owns one white shirt. He informed me.
That sounds like what I would expect of the best auctioneer in the state.
And so he was telling me that it was the only shirt that he had to wear for the game on Sunday, and it had Nebraska Realty on it. So
amazing.
I appreciate it. His commitment to wearing a white shirt was great. I wore a white sweatshirt, and I realized when I got home that I basically just look like a giant marshmallow if I have all white on. It reminded me of one of my favorite parts of when you, myself, and Brendan Stye were together, and we would just have Brendan tell stories every Friday.
Story time with Stye,
the story about wearing the all whites with the Lions and how linemen just hate all whites.
Yes, it was great.
Just wonderful.
Also, someone who is kind of a weather wimp, Brendan Stye. California guy can't handle it. That dude told us all the offensive linemen. Usually you think they always wear short sleeves. Not Brendan. He's got a turtleneck under it. He admitted it. I'm just relaying the message. Oh, by the way, and shout out also Tim over there at Nebraska Realty. If you ever go to the Hastings College Athletic Hall of Fame, I don't know if it's a physical place, but if you do, he's in it.
Okay.
Basketball player. Yes.
Right.
And we're going to the tourney, Mike. Are you excited or not?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm excited, but now the focus is on it needs to be Oklahoma City. They need to be a 2 seed. And then we need to have the discussions about if we're going to the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight.
Come on, Mike. You want to go to Tampa or San Diego with me and hang out on the beach? Come on.
I don't want to spend a single second thinking about the beach when Nebraska basketball is in the NCAA tournament.
I want to go to Oklahoma City or St. Louis, but if they don't, can we get Tampa or San Diego? That's all I'm asking.
I'd be fine with it. I like. There's really only a couple locations that I would be pretty annoyed by, and it's largely because logistically it's a nightmare to sort of figure it all out.
Well, listen, no one in their life is ever like, man, I can't wait to go to Greenville, South Carolina. And I'm sure it's a fine place.
They've got a great park.
You could say the same thing about Lincoln, Nebraska, if you don't live here. But yes, I did. Oh man, we're calling back to the olden days of Unemployed. Yep. Amazing. The most
we're at 5 weeks down here at Unemployed.
I still don't have. I don't know if the BC episode on week 1 will ever be eclipsed as the most famous episode of this show.
I enjoy that now. Multiple guests on Nebrasketball Tuesday have dunked on BC during their appearances. Either those that were very familiar with what happened, or when you explained to them off air before the show,
right,
how this all happened, they work in jokes at his expense.
They dunked on BC like Dave Hoppin dunked over apparently not enough people for BC.
Not enough people. Not enough people indeed. All right, everybody have a great weekend.
Peace out.
Unemployed will be back on Monday. Check out the coffee show on Saturday. See you then.